Imagine a war that lasts less than the time it takes to watch an episode of your favorite sitcom. Sounds unbelievable, right? But it happened. Our story begins on the 25th of August, 1896, in the exotic lands of Zanzibar. The reigning Sultan, Hamad bin Thuwaini, mysteriously passes away, leaving behind a power vacuum. Enter Khalid bin Bargash, eager to seize the throne and crown himself as the new Sultan. But here's the catch. His coronation was unauthorized, a blatant disregard for the British consul who favored a different successor, Hamoud bin Mohammed. Now, you might wonder why the British had a say in this. Well, Zanzibar was a British protectorate, and they had a treaty in place that gave them the power to approve the new Sultan. Khalid's audacious move was no less than a slap in the face of the British Empire. This act of defiance by Khalid was the spark that ignited the shortest recorded war in history. It's the morning of August 27, 1896. The British ultimatum to Khalid to step down has expired, and the first shots are fired. As the sun rises, the tension in the air is palpable. Time stands still, but only for a moment. At precisely 9:02 in the morning, the first cannonball roars through the sky, signifying the commencement of what will be the shortest war in recorded history. The British naval forces, anchored just off the coast, unleash a torrent of fire and steel upon the Sultan's palace. The bombardment is swift and unrelenting, a stark demonstration of the overwhelming firepower of the British forces. As the palace walls crumble under the relentless onslaught, the echoes of the onslaught reverberate through the narrow streets of Zanzibar, a chilling soundtrack to the unfolding conflict. On the ground, Khalid's men rally, their determination unyielding in the face of such an intimidating display of force. Armed primarily with antique muskets and the conviction in their hearts, they put up a brave fight. They are the very picture of courage, the embodiment of the spirit of defiance. Yet, despite their bravery, the harsh reality is inescapable. The British forces are simply too powerful, too well equipped. The Sultan's palace, once a symbol of prestige and power, is now a smoldering ruin. The streets of Zanzibar echo with the sounds of conflict, punctuated by the thunderous roars of British cannons. The battle rages on, a chaotic ballet of smoke and fire. But even as the Sultan's forces continue to resist, the outcome seems increasingly inevitable. The imbalance of power is clear as the morning sun that now shines over the embattled city. Despite the Sultan's forces putting up a brave fight, the imbalance was clear. It was only a matter of time before the inevitable. At 9:40 a.m., a mere 38 minutes after the first shots were fired, the Sultan's flag over the palace was shot down. The end came as swiftly as it had begun. The Sultan of Zanzibar, Khalid bin Bargash, realizing the futility of resistance against the overwhelming British firepower, fled his palace. He sought refuge in the German consulate, only to be captured days later. The war's toll was heavy, with about 500 lives lost, most of them Zanzibari. The British suffered only one casualty. The palace was reduced to a smoldering ruin, and the once mighty Sultanate was left in tatters. In what seemed like a blink of an eye, the world's shortest war had played out. A conflict that started and ended before the morning was even over. A war that was more like a sprint than a marathon. And just like that, the shortest war in history was over. So, what happens after a war that lasts less than an hour? Let's turn our attention to the aftermath of this brief yet monumental conflict. The British swiftly installed Sultan Hamoud, a leader amenable to their interests, ushering in a new era of British influence in East Africa. Meanwhile, the defeated Sultan Khalid didn't fare as well. Captured and exiled to Seychelles and later to St. Helena, his rule ended as quickly as the war itself. His capture marked the end of an era, closing a chapter of Zanzibar's history that had been marked by autonomy and resistance. But this was more than just a change of leadership. It was a pivotal moment in the colonial chess game that was East Africa, strengthening British influence in the region. This ripple effect caused by a war that lasted less than the time it takes to watch a sitcom forever changed the geopolitical landscape. In the grand scheme of history, this 45-minute war had lasting impacts that reverberated far beyond the shores of Zanzibar.